Hey everyone, time for another technical video for this month. Got a few things to cover today, but mainly we're going to talk about EPROMS, which are these little guys here, if you've not seen one before. They do have a little window and you can actually see the actual die of the chip inside there. So if you've ever seen these guys, normally they'll have something over the top so that light doesn't get in, because if any UV light gets in there, it'll start to erase the chip and it won't work anymore. And that's why they've got a window like that. If you've ever wondered, that's the erase window. So you just leave it in a UV eraser and it'll erase the chip and then you can rewrite it. So yeah, but that's them. They come in lots of different sizes. They generally always start, the part number always starts with 27C. That's the convention, and then the size will be after it. So this is a 27C 3-2, so it's a 32 megabit chip. It's 42 pins. So yeah, it's one of the bigger chips that I use. It's the same chip that's in the fluffy PGM boards. So yeah, so I think there's 10 of these in it. So yeah, so if you want to program these guys, we'll get into that in a second. So that's an EPROM. Now, one thing I will show, because it's quite common on eBay now, I've noticed, a lot of people say, you know, like, should you buy EPROMs brand new? Should you use old ones? What speed do you use? You know, where do you actually get them from? Most EPROMs I get from eBay, generally, and normally I just buy used ones that are at least 100 nanoseconds in speed wise, and that'll be written on the chip. I don't think this will focus up enough. No, I didn't think so, to actually show you, but there's dash 100 there, which means 100 nanoseconds. So 100 nanoseconds will do you for a lot of stuff. Definitely do with the arcade stuff, PGM, anything like that. 100's a good place to start. If you need anything faster than that, there are faster speeds. But this is one little issue that I found with a lot of sellers selling brand new EPROMs. What they do is they actually print another print of the actual text on these chips. They reprint over old chips, so it makes the chip look like it's nice and new when actually it's actually an old chip underneath. The other big problem is a lot of them they've been printing. You can see this one. I see how it's coming off. I've hit it with the cotton bud with IPA. You can see how the text is coming off. So this guy's been repainted. The big problem with these, as I was saying, is that the speed that they print them on is not the speed of the chip that's actually underneath. So you could have these as say 90 nanosecond when in real fact they're 150s or 200s. So that's a risk in buying new ones. That's why generally I just buy second-hand ones. You can erase an EPROM over and over and over again, so it's not like you're going to reach a limit. Most EPROMs have only been programmed probably, 10 times, like not very often. So yeah, so that's a little bit of a worry with the reprinting, but now you know about it, you can look out for that. But yeah, generally I just buy second-hand ones. They're a little bit cheaper, and they're going to work fine for what you're going to use them for. So yeah. Now this little guy here, this is a flash chip, so it's like an EPROM, but the way that the actual chip is programmed is slightly different. As you can notice, there's no window. That's because flash is electronically erasable. You do not need the UV eraser to erase it. So I just wanted to point out flash chips because they are quite common these days. Flash is way more common than EPROMs for new designs and current stuff like motherboards and things like that. Older gear like your old arcade boards and all that, they'll all be EPROMs. They won't be flash chips yet. So that's those guys there. Now, one cool little thing is if you go to Wikipedia and look up EPROMs, you'll get this is a chart that's on the Wikipedia page. One of the cool things with this chart is it tells you if someone sends you a file and you're not sure what EPROM size, or you just want to check to make sure that, as a sanity check, this actual list gives you the size of what the actual file is on your computer, and say, well, let's say it's the 32K. So come across here, and then you go across, and you'll need a 27C256 for that file. So this chart is really handy for that sort of stuff. Especially if someone sends you a file and they don't tell you what the chip is, or they don't know what the chip is. This is a really good guide where you just look up the size, look across, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's probably what I need. So that's in Wikipedia. That's just a printout that I've done, but that's really handy to have. It's a good little chart. I use it all the time. I've just printed it up and stuck it to the side of the computer. Yeah, so that's that. So that's really handy. Now, next thing, UV erasers, since the EPROMs have to be erased before you can use them. This is a cheap one from eBay. Don't expect it to. I don't know if how high quality the tube is, so I'm not sure how long it will last, but it's pretty cheap. I think it was only like $20. I don't use this one. I just grabbed this one as an emergency one in case the tube died in mine and I couldn't find a replacement tube. But you can get replacement tubes. The tubes are the same as ones they use for killing viruses and germs. The germ lamps are the same frequency. The light that comes off, the UV light, is the same frequency as what you need for doing EPROMs. So yeah, so this is it. I've added just a little bit of, you can see there's a little bit of anti-static foam, and you just chuck the EPROMs in there, push them in, chuck it in the drawer, dial it up to however long you want to do it. You can erase EPROMs. It's not for a long period of time, and it's not going to hurt it. Like if you put it for 20 minutes and it only needs 10 minutes, it's not going to hurt it or anything, so don't be worried about that. So that's that guy there. Now, once you've erased them, obviously you've got to be able to somehow check to make sure they're erased, which generally you use a blank check. My EPROM programmer, when I actually go to program chips, it does a blank check for me at the start, so I don't actually even have to do it. It just does that, and if it fails, it just lets me know. Most times if you fail a blank check, it's because you didn't erase it for long enough. So chuck it back in your eraser, leave it for another 10-15 minutes, pull it out, do a blank check, and then you should be good to go. Now, EPROM programmers come in lots of different sizes and lots of different prices. This is the one I use. It's a 48-pin socket here, so I can do the 27C322. So these guys, the 16-bit EPROMs, which are 42-pin. I can do these guys in here, and I don't need an adapter. They just go straight in, just open it up, grab the chip, pop it in, make sure the notch is at the top. Notch is always at the top for these guys, and then let the handle down, that grabs it. So that puts it in there ready to for programming. So just pop him out. Now, the more expensive EPROM programmers can do obviously more chips. Like you can do your PAL and your GALs with these. You can even test some chips. Some of these will test like SRAM, TTL, all that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure mine does, but I've actually never used it to do that. But it definitely does. The unit is good. It's not cheap. This is around 600 to 650-ish Australian dollars. So this is one of the high-end ones. But the main reason I got it is for chip support, because I wanted to have quite a few chips in the library, because once you put a chip in there, you've got to tell your programming software what chip you've got, so that it knows what to read out. So that's really important. So there's this one. This is the one I use. It's the VP798. They do I think a 998, which is the next step up from this. But it's another, I think, $200-300. So I didn't get that one. I just got this one, and it's been fine. I used it a fair bit, obviously. So that's that guy. Now there are other ones you can get. I've just printed out some pictures of them. This guy here is a TL866. Now, this is a small little EPROM programmer. I'd only recommend this probably if you're going to do, maybe you need to do a BIOS, maybe a BIOS update on a motherboard failed, and you need to, you need to redo that. That's definitely going to cater for that. Excuse me for a second, guys. got a little bit of a cold. Had a bit of a sore throat, so we'll just get rid of that for a second. Yeah, so this guy for older motherboards and stuff, for doing BIOSes and stuff, this guy's probably okay, but it is labeled. It does have limits. How many pins are actually on the socket is a limit, so you're going to need, if you're going to do any 42 pin stuff, you're going to have an adapter, and I would check to make sure that there is an adapter for this guy before you buy him. So that's that guy, and he's not too expensive. I think he's around $60, something like that, which is a lot cheaper. So that's that guy. Now, this guy's a little bit more expensive, but it does have more pins in it as well. I think this is 40. It's either 40 or 42. And if it's 40, you can get an adapter to do the 42 pin chips. So that's that guy. These two guys I'm just showing on paper, I haven't actually personally used them. I've just seen them on eBay. These guys have been around for a long time. So yeah, and the thing I like about this is that, as is in my programmer, you just put the chip in and read it out, or program it. And it's the same for this. You don't have to muck around with doing anything. It'll just, the chips will go straight in, and you can read or write them. So that's that guy. Now this guy is a little bit more expensive. It's probably around 150. If I was probably going to go for something and I didn't have the budget for this guy, something like this would probably be the way to go. You don't want to spend, it depends on how much you're going to use it. I mean, if you've got like a motherboard and the motherboard's worth, $100, $200, and you try to do a BIOS update and it fails halfway through, and then the motherboard doesn't buy anymore. If you're buying this for $150, you can do a chip in this that'll give you the motherboard back. Plus, if you want to do any arcade stuff or making your own carts or anything where an EPROM or flash is needed, then you can use it again. You can do it for friends. I offer a service, just, if people get desperate and they're need like a BIOS chip for a motherboard or something like that. Doesn't matter wherever they are. I do an offer. If you need an EPROM and you can't get it from locally done, then I don't mind writing it if you want to pay for postage, etc., etc. So that's that guy. Now, another way of actually getting your chips written, there's a company called Buy IC Now, and what they will do is they'll actually program the chips for you. So let's say you buy 10 of these guys and you got 10 different files. You send them the 10 different files, they'll program them, and they'll actually write on the chip to say, hey, this is what's in them. So that's another option. If you can do a lot of chips, though, obviously having an actual programmer here where you can do it yourself is obviously better. But if you're only going to do a couple of chips, or if you've got that motherboard that you did try to program and it failed halfway through, you can send them the BIOS file, buy an EPROM or flash, depending on which one it needs, and they'll program it for you. And that's a fairly cheap way of getting a motherboard back, or some device if it's crashed, or a laptop or anything like that. So that's Buy IC Now. So they're handy for that sort of thing. Now, once you've written an EPROM, because it's got the window and you don't want to have light going through it, you need to put a sticker on top. Now, the best stickers to use are these guys. You can get these from Buy IC Now, and I've got quite a few of them. They're a metallized polyester, and that's what's great about them, is they're basically like aluminium foil. So no light's no visible, no UV, nothing's going to get through these guys. So there is those. These guys here, stickers, actually Fluffy was telling me about these ones. So you can see the size. They do go across the whole chip, so you can cut them in half and use one sticker for both. But these are the Avery labels. So these are sticky on the back. This is for a laser, and it's the L7656. So if you're wanting some, type that in and you'll get a whole pack. And I think it's, how many is it? Oh, I can't see how many sheets are in one pack. Anyway, there's a lot of stickers. I usually just write them by hand, and that's that. So that's another option. And then I got these guys. These are the guys I actually got these made myself, professionally made. As you can see, it's got gc8tech.com on it. and they're holograms. So that's all nice and looks all professional. And then underneath here, there's actually space, and I can actually write in what's in the file, what revision it is, or whatever I want to do. So there, if I send an EPROM to someone, I use these little guys. So they look really nice, professional. They weren't too expensive, but because I do a lot of EPROMs, it was worth getting them. So that I did. But yeah, any sticker that's not going to let light through will be fine. So that's okay, guys. Now, this little guy is really, really handy. He's a dip chip leg straightener, and he'll do the wide dips in here. So you just drop your chip in. Come on, in here. And then just go like that, and it'll straighten the legs for you, which is really, really handy. It'll also do skinnies. That's a fat. It'll do skinnies on this side. I haven't got a skinny at hand right now, but same thing. You push it in there and just push it together, and that's it. So that's really, really handy to have. Now, another thing with EPROMs is when they get older, they actually slow down and they don't work as fast. So that's another reason if you're going to buy secondhand EPROMs to at least get 100 nano speed, because you will need that. Now, adapters. When you have an EPROM programmer, there are lots of different chips and connectors, and these guys will convert whatever chips in here. That's just a SOP chip in there to a dip chip here, and so that I can put the chip in there, chuck it in here, open it up, chuck it in here, and then program or array, or whatever I want to do to it. Now, there are so many different adapters. There's one there. That one's a PLCC. Then you've got this one, which is a PLCC quad. Another smaller PLCC. Same thing to dip on the bottom. And there's a couple more here. Just really small. SOP 8. T-SOP. Very, very handy. T-SOPs are very, very hard to solder, but if you need to program them, you can do it in here. I like to actually program the chip once it's in the board, if you've got that capability. But that's for T-SOPs, so that guy's really, really handy. And then just another one here. But yeah, but these are handy. You can get them. Obviously, you can buy the ones that you actually need that you need to use. You can obviously buy them. Some EPROM programmers, when you buy them, will actually come with the adapters themselves, like a whole heap of different ones. If you're going to be writing the 42 the 42 pin EPROMs, you'll need an adapter for that as well. But please check to make sure, if you want to do them, please check the EPROM programmer first to make sure that it does have an adapter to do them. I would hate for you to actually buy an EPROM programmer and then go, oh crap, it's not going to be able to do the chips that I need it to do. So that's it, guys. That's it for today. I just want to do a quick run over the I forgot to talk about software. EPROM software comes with the programmer, but it's very, very simple, very easy to use. You basically just tell the software what chip that you've got, whether you want to program it or whether you want to dump it, and then it'll basically do that. It'll ask you where to save the file if you want to dump it, and if you're actually going to program it, then I'll ask it what file to load to put in. So that's why I haven't shown that, because it's very, very, very basic. You don't, it's not hard to use. Don't be scared of the software. It's really, really easy to use. Just find what chip that you've got. Even if you don't have the chip in there, a lot of chips are very compatible. Like a lot of the STs and the AMD chips will program other manufacturers' chips of the same type. So that's a little thing that's handy to know. On my GC8 Tech website, I've actually got a little chart showing the prefixes for 5 volt and 3.3 volt flash chips, which is also handy if you're going to be doing any of that sort of stuff. It gives you a guide on the prefix and yeah, what voltage it is. So that's about it, guys. I just wanted to do a quick little video about doing EPROMs and EPROM programmers. If you've got any questions, hit me up, send me a message, or leave a comment on the comments below, or send me email, Twitter, etc., etc. Thanks, guys, for watching. Bye.